Welcome to the Leapfrog BI sample project video series. My name is Paul Felix, and in this video we're going to be talking about the transform component. Transform component can be many different things. It is a sort of generic component which takes as its input either a PSA or another transform component. You can do things like pivot data, unpivot, you can perform set operations, joins, filters, build expressions, and so on. So it's really a universal transform component. Let's jump right over to our sample project and build one. So I'm already logged in here, and if I go straight over to my component area, I can see that I am in fact in my sample project. And once again, real quickly, in this project we've already created a couple of connections. We have a stage component which is using which used a product profile to be created, and we have a PSA component. And if I go over to the details of that PSA, if you're watching these videos in the order here, you'll remember that in our last video we discussed a little bit about expression building as well as some of the unique definitions that are required for PSA components. So what we're going to do now is just continue to build on this same lineage. I'm going to move over to the transform component type. I'm going to create a new transform component and have a few different transform component templates to choose from. The one I'm going to use is this transform main. It says here transform source component by building expressions, filters, and so on. That's what I want to do. If I needed to do a pivot or an unpivot or a set operation, I would select one of those templates. Just like with the PSA and stage, I need to give my component a name. So I'm going to call this product once again, and we'll call this product transform for the description. Now, as a source of this component, I'm going to use the PSA product component. That's my source component. And for the connection, I need to create a new connection. But what I'm going to do now is just leave this here because I haven't created a new connection. I'm going to come back and edit this component in just a minute. Now, one other option I have here on the transform is a write table option. Now, generally the transforms are going to create views, not actual tables. So, but if I wanted to, I could write that view out to a table. If, for example, I wanted to extend the application in some way and maybe manipulate that data in some custom operations. For now, I'm not going to write the table out. I'm just going to leave this as a view. So I save this component, and I'm ready to begin editing my transform component. But before I do that, I want to move back over to my connections. I'm going to create a new connection based on a SQL Server source, and I'm going to call this my transform database. And I'm just going to quickly put in here my server, and I'll call this AdventureWorks Replay Transform. That's good for now. I'm not going to fill out the rest of the connections for the other life cycles. I'll do that at a later time. So I'm going to save that. Now what I'm going to do is go back over to my transform component that I just created. You can see that's the only component listed here. And I want to edit this component and point the destination connection to my new transform connection. Okay, great. Now I got my transform component all set up. I can begin defining the details. Now we've already pointed this out in the previous video, but we have this usage map here. I just want to make one more point, and that is that you have the ability to show an extended map. By default, the usage map is only going to show the immediate upstream and downstream components. So as this product transform component here has only got one source, so you only have one source in the upstream. But if I show the extended map, then I'll show the entire lineage upstream and downstream. If I move over to my PSA product, we can see that the usage map is showing me the upstream and downstream components. So now for the transform product, I'm going to go to the detail, and we need to do a couple things here. This transform component we're going to set up so that it can incrementally load a dimension, a product dimension. And if you remember, we already have our stage component set so that it uses a statistic to selectively collect records from our source system. Well, all of those records, of course, are eventually ending up in our PSA. We don't want to query the entire PSA to load the product every time we need to refresh our MART. We only want to pull the new records from the PSA. And those new records can be defined by referencing the record date. If you remember, we set the record date when we were defining the PSA component. So let's build an expression here and use that expression to filter out which records we're going to be selecting from our PSA source. So I'm going to go over to the expression builder. I'm going to build a new expression. And what we need to do here is we need to find any record that is greater than, or any record date time that is greater than some value. Now we don't have that value created yet, so we actually need to go back up here a little bit and create a statistic that can give us a reference value. So I'm going to cancel out of this, and I'm going to go into my fields here. Modified date is the field I'm going to be concerned with. And I can see here quickly that my modified date, again, just like a component, is showing me my usage map. You can see this is sourced from PSA, which is sourced from a stage component. But what I'm concerned with here is this statistic. I need to collect a maximum value for my modified date. And I'm going to, again, set a initial value, just like we did whenever we were building the stage component. So now, whenever this component runs for the first time, it's going to have a value of 2000 January 1 for this statistic. And then each time this component is run, after it's been run, a subsequent query is going to be executed that collects the maximum value, the new maximum value on this field. And then that value is going to be stored so it can be used at anywhere else within the project. Okay, so now that I have my reference date, which is the maximum of my modified date, I need to now make available the record date time for this source. There's a special function built in called Leapfrog BI functions, or in the Leapfrog BI function category, which is called record date time. And it just simply makes available the record date time that was previously defined in the PSA component. So I'm just going to call this record date. I'm going to save that. So now I have an expression with my record date. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to do a compare, and in this compare I need to find out, or I need to identify the records that have a record date time greater than the statistic that I just collected. So the record date time, being the expression I just created for record date, is greater than the stat that I just created for my transform product modified date. And I'll call this new PSA record. I'll save that. Alright, so now I have a new PSA record expression of a Boolean type. I want to just point out a couple things about this expression. If I hover over the expression, I can get the tooltip to give me the expression, the total expression if it's not able to fit in this expression area here. But also there's a red and a green portion. Red meaning that this is actually a nested expression, and the green meaning is this is a statistic. So if I go back into this expression and I look at the details, I can see that I have an expression formula area that explicitly shows me what the expression, how the expression is defined. In this lower section, I have all of the nested expressions expanded. which in this case there's only one, which is leapfrog BI record time portion of this compare. Okay, so let's go now and set a filter for this transformation. I'm going to go to the filter area, click Modify Filter, and then I'm going to just simply select the filter expression that I want to use. And my expression is now, or my filter is now defined. I can do other things here, like I can only include distinct records. I can do a top, such as a top count or a top percent with or without ties. As long as I have this set to 100%, then we're basically going to just ignore the top statement. If I need to set an order, I can do so. Typically, you don't want to do that unless you're using this tie statement. So I'm going to save this. Now I can see in my detailed definition here that I have a filter expression, which is based on my new PSA record, and its value is record date times greater than maximum, or the statistic here for modified date. Quickly here, I want to just show a couple more things about fields. Now that I have created expressions, I can go to New Field, and when I look at the new field, I now can use my expressions where it's appropriate. It wouldn't be appropriate to use a Boolean type expression because that is not a type of it's not a data type that can be a field. So my my compare expression or new PSA record expression is not listed here. So let's just end it at that. We'll look more at the join definition in a later video. But for now, I think we've touched on enough to give you a good idea how the transform components can be created and useful in your data mart development needs. I'll see you in the next video, which will be the dimension component video.